Hello.
Hello. Oh, we're live. Do it live.
Hello.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
This is our pre-show show. Pre-show.
Pre-show to the show about our show.
Let's do a mic check real quick for everybody. Who wants to go first?
Mic check. Doing a mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have no one-word impression because I'm a professional. Blah 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 blah.
Christian?
Hello, Krishna here. We're talking about Moon Knight. Haha. Lies, because it's not out yet. Krishna from the future. When Moon Knight comes out, come and talk to this previous self of yours.
Christian, we decided you can't be on the Moon Knight podcast.
Yes.
Dad?
I'm on the alternate time stream.
You're an alternate time stream.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Dad, who are you? Tell the audience how you're related to us.
Jim Jones from the future.
Oh, God.
Jesus.
He's a Terminator. He's a Terminator Jim Jones.
Okay, and then I'll go. Hello. This is Arjuna. Hello. I'm saying words. They're coming out of my mouth.
Are you
Great.
sure about that?
Hey, Christian, real quick. Try and not lean back on your chair. It's making noise.
No.
Do you know how to lock your chair in so it doesn't
Push the
Push
or
the
pull
handle
it,
in?
pull it, or push
it in
yeah.
on
The
the
handle?
right, on the right side?
Push it in?
Push it in.
Like how?
Just push.
Like push this way.
Oh. Okay.
Now you should be able to lean back.
Oh, got it.
Okay.
There it is.
Yep.
Nice.
Yep. Everyone actually just stay completely still and don't move.
Breathe.
Don't breathe.
Right.
All right, we ready for an actual podcast here?
Yep. I guess I'll start the record.
All right.
Recording is starting in 500, 499.
Real quick before that
498.
starts, those watching, we're about to do our Was It Good podcast. If you're listening, tuning in, feel free to jump in with questions. Christian will be monitoring them.
Mm-hmm. I'm on YouTube. Do you want me to be on Restream?
Restream, you can pull up the universal chat. Feel free to ask questions. We'll get to them at the end. As always, the podcast will be available on Apple and Spotify later today, actually, because our
Yes.
Junior is a crackpot producer.
Yeah, you're saying I'm on crack and pot at the same time?
Isn't that what that term means? Anyway, we're
I
going to do
have
the
no
podcast for real now. In 3, 2, 1. Was Terminator Dark Fate good? Worth seeing? Made any logical sense at all? I fucking hated that. I'm going to redo that. Sorry, Dad, about the language. Fuck.
You're a father? I thought you were me from the future.
Wait, Christian, help me with the English here.
Yeah.
Was Dark Fate good? Worth seeing? Made any logical sense at all? Made any sense at all? How do you say that?
Let me see.
Made a logical sense at all?
Where are we?
Right here.
Was Terminator Fate
Dark
good.
Fate good.
worth seeing? Made logical sense? Get rid of at all.
I'm
So
going to stop this record.
was Dark Fate good? Worth seeing?
We are still streaming, but I've stopped the audio.
I would say made any sense?
Made any sense? Not logical.
Yeah.
Made any sense? Does it need a sequel?
Does it need a sequel? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
And make sure you end up high on all of those. So it's clear those each questions.
Yeah, I know how a question works.
Do you, though?
No,
Oh,
clearly.
boy. Okay, I'm going to start the record again. Here we go. Record started.
Okay, in 3, 2, 1.
Rangers.
Was Terminator Dark Fate good? Worth seeing? Made any sense? Does it need a sequel? We are Was It Good, a podcast reviewing movie and TV shows. I'm your host, Ravi, joined by my two brothers, Christian and Arjuna. And joining us today, we have a very special guest, our father. Not like an actor who plays our father, our actual father.
Yes. If you're watching the stream, you can see the resemblance.
Right. If you look at the stream, in the two of the corners, you have two bald people, and you have the two hairy people in the other two corners.
That's amazing.
Wow.
For those listening, Arjuna is referencing, we do live stream these podcasts as well. You can find those on our YouTube channel or on Facebook or Twitch under Was It Good. Anyway, jumping right in, Dad, welcome.
Thank you.
How are you?
Good to be here.
Good, yeah. You're a lifelong listener.
Yes, I am.
Lifelong listen.
Yeah. A lifelong listener to us. Since we were born, you've had to
Yep.
put up with us.
yes.
We haven't
True.
been doing this podcast since we were born because that would be pretty freaking cool.
That would be amazing. Is that possible?
I don't think so, but I'm sure there will be some weird parental group. Like if I'm unfortunate enough to have kids, I would force them at the as soon as they start talking
To listen to the
make
podcast?
to make a podcast.
Oh, interesting.
I'd be like, you have to do this.
Well, the thing is, I mean, there are movies, videos of when you guys were much younger. You can turn those into podcasts.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we could
actually. It's true.
That's
scary.
very meta.
Scary podcast.
Yeah, it might be scary, but you can still do that, right?
We should
we critique ourselves.
we should probably tell the audience why we have that. Right?
Oh, so we have Dad here because Dad. So as I said right at the beginning, we're talking obviously about Terminator: Dark Fate, the newest, the 6th Terminator film to date. It is considered by the director and producer James Cameron the 3rd movie.
Correct.
Following directly after the events of Terminator 2. It bypasses the events of Terminator 3, Terminator Salvation, Terminator Genesis, whatever the fuck it's called. But we have our father here as a special guest because Dad has been not only a lifelong fan of our podcast, but he's also a lifelong Arnold Schwarzenegger fan and thus Terminator fan. And Dad, by all respects, I would say, is the person that got us into Terminator and showed us those wonderful movies at the age of 5
And 4.
Terminator 2. Terminator 2 was the first rated R movie I remember watching.
I think it was a bit older than that, right? I
No,
think I was like 12.
Dad, your style of parenting was the violence at a young age.
And whiskey or rum.
Whiskey.
It was the
Rum.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, Dad, as you know, on this podcast, we like to kind of go around the horn here and give our one-word impressions. One word that kind of sums up the movie watching experience, the movie itself, the whole shebang. And, Dad, because you are the guest and because you are our father, out of respect, we will let Krishna go first.
Yes.
Well done.
Thank you.
My one word is mixed. Because I still don't know how I feel about this movie.
Christian, we're doing a podcast.
I know. But that's the thing. I've been processing it for like almost 24 straight hours now.
I was going to say
And
24 years. Like, damn.
24 years. Yeah,
Whoa,
that's right. I'm
like-
from the future. And I've been and that's how long it took for me to figure it out. No. There's parts of this movie that I really like, and then there are parts of this movie that to me they just felt like they didn't work very well. And I think honestly, for me, depending on what I choose to focus on, the movie will either be good or it'll be bad. So for me right now, the word is mixed. I don't know what I'm going to say at the end of this podcast.
Whoa.
I really don't. And I think this conversation here, this podcast that we're about to have is going to help me decide, I think.
Interesting. And Chris is referring to, for new listeners, we at the very end kind of give up our ultimate. We
yes.
answer the ultimate question of was the movie good? So
What's the
at
meaning of life?
No, I'm never going to get to that point. So at the very end of the podcast, we will go around and ask everyone if the movie that we're reviewing, obviously Terminator Dark Fate, was good. So moving right along, though, I'm actually going to go next.
Wow.
Because I actually,
You never go next.
in true fashion, I never prepare ahead of time. I always kind of come up with my one-word impression during the podcast because this is when I'm obviously most enthralled and thinking and all that fun nonsense.
That's right. So for listeners and viewers out there, Ravi doesn't think outside of this podcast.
This is where
He's
all
completely.
my thinking
In fact, he
happens.
just sits there and it's just like brain dead. He's like,
Hopefully no one
The whole
from work is
time.
watching.
Yeah, seriously, like if my boss was, oh shit, I'm screwed. But my one-word impression for Dark Fate is going to be, and for all those grandma type people, whatever, it's not really one word.
Grandma.
It's a phrase. Parking ticket.
Oh, yes.
And the reason I say parking ticket is because, like I said at the beginning, the one-word impression is supposed to kind of be your impression about the entire experience. What happened going to the movie theater.
you got a parking ticket?
No. What happened after the movie, the entire experience. And we went to AMC, as we always do, to go see this movie. And their validation machines for the parking tickets was broken. And me and our friend, one of our Christian and our friend, O'Connor, was there with us. And he also had a parking ticket. And we had to basically go on a tour of the AMC Century City movie theater, going from the top level to the bottom level, back to the middle level, back to the top level to get our parking validated.
Yeah.
And O'Connor says, funny enough, he's like, this was the most interesting and entertaining part about this entire experience.
Yep.
So parking ticket
Parking
is
ticket.
is my phrase.
Shout out to Matt Hokana. Yeah.
Wait, his first
Providing
name's
us.
Matt?
Yeah.
I'm just.
I'm not sure if you knew that. Nice.
Dad, we're gonna have you go next because Arjuna looks like he wants to go, and I just
It's
like
alright.
to watch. No, Dad, go ahead.
Oh,
I like to see
true
Arjuna
dad
suffer.
fashion.
I would say it was a bit. I'm specifically talking about the movie.
Ooh.
I think it was a bit confusing.
Confusing.
Yes. And the reason why I say that is because which timeline are we talking about here? You go back to the whole experience of the previous 5 Terminators.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't know which timeline we're talking about. Because, for instance, in Terminator 3, Sarah Connor was dead.
Right.
Well, all of a sudden, she's back in this movie.
Yeah.
Then this Terminator comes and kills him. In Terminator 2, the Terminator was a good guy because he saved John Connor.
Yeah.
But why the same? Well, we could be he was reprogrammed and sent back in, like I said, which timeline? So
Yeah. And that sort of reiterates a lot of the issues that I had with the movie,
Yeah.
where the parts were very confusing and plot holes galore,
Right.
I think.
But overall, the movie, I mean, like for me, I go see a movie. The action part of it, I think the action was pretty good. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think not to get too much into it right now, but that's a big issue that this movie and this franchise has dealt with really since Terminator 2. Is you've had all of these different movies
Right.
and all and the show even that all take place on separate different universes, and it sort of connects, but it doesn't connect. Because like Terminator 3 is a direct sequel, and you can follow that through line. It wasn't a great movie. Then Terminator Salvation is kind of a follow-up prequel sequel, but doesn't necessarily follow the time events of the first 3. And then you had Genesis, which was completely different, and then really messed up your mind. And then this one is, again, like, unless you're reading the interviews and doing research before the movie, which, let's be honest, most people don't want to do
Yeah.
when they go see these movies.
Not
You're-
for a dead franchise.
yeah, you're going to be confused. Like I think, Dad, you perfectly, captured it. Like, where, like what are we supposed to follow here?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
When are
a
we?
lot.
Yeah.
Exactly.
When, where, how, why, what?
Arjuna, you look like you really want to tell us what your one-word impression is.
Actually,
but we're gonna move on. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
no, actually, I'm kind of glad my word is last because my word is done.
I'm confused. You're done with us, or
No, no. I
He just bleeds.
No, I think this movie proves that this franchise is done. If James Cameron can't save this franchise,
No one.
I think it's time to I think it's time to lay Terminator to rest. There was 2 great movies. There's 4 other movies,
Yeah.
and that's it.
That's
I think
it.
I think they've been trying. When did Terminator 2 come out? 1991.
Was it 91?
Yeah, so before I was born, Terminator 2
Wow.
came out, right? So for 28 years, they've been trying to make sequels to this great sequel, and they failed. I think it might be time to end it.
yeah.
That's so
for
my
at least
word is
10
done.
years.
Actually, I know. I know.
for 3 years. They rebooted again.
Just to go off of your point, and I know we usually do it later, but how much has this movie grossed so far?
Domestically, this is the big story. In its first weekend, it was number 1 in the box office, but it only made $29 million, which is a low opening total for a $185 million movie, which, generally you about double the budget for marketing. So you're looking at $400 million before you break even.
Yeah.
$29 million, if you kind of follow the math and everything, isn't going to probably break even for you.
Damn.
So we'll get to it, but there's very little chance a sequel to this movie gets made.
There it is. You heard it here first.
So our one-word impressions, if we create a sentence, would be mixed parking ticket, confusing, done.
Yes, that's pretty perfect.
Makes parking ticket confusing. Done.
Or done, confusing, parking ticket, mixed.
Or it can
Neither one makes sense.
Exactly.
That's a t-shirt right there. Terminator, Dark Fate.
doesn't make sense.
So, in this section, Arjuna, the crackpot producer who's on crack and pot at the same time,
Yes.
goes and gives his personal recap of the film, and he does it in his own words, and then I, unfortunately, have to read it in my voice.
I actually gave you a suggestion for one of them. It's in parentheses. You don't read the parentheses part. You might see it.
I see it.
Okay.
So here we go. And like I said, this is Arjuna's recap in his words.
Remember, I'm shaped by the people around me. So
His
technically,
words.
it's all of your fault.
His words of what happened in Terminator Dark Fate. John will not be back. Happy family time. Naked people. Ha ha ha. They work at a factory. It's funny because it's a movie about machines. Really?
It is.
It's really low-hanging fruit there.
Well, that they did that by having the main characters work at a fucking machine factory.
Yeah.
I love the line of, we're going to get replaced by machines.
Everyone chuckled.
I was like,
God.
Jesus.
Action. Go, Diego, go to heaven. Sarah Connor.
No, it's Sarah Connor.
Sarah Connor. Come on, don't be a baby.
Do it.
A pissing contest between women on trust. I will say that was never mind. We'll get to our favorite parts, but hint, hint. Breaking into America because there is no wall.
Oh, God.
So is this movie like pro Trump's wall? Is that what you're saying, Arjuna?
I don't know. I'm just saying
Mixed
what
messages?
what happened in the movie.
Immigrants are escaping. Carl, professional draping expert. I will not be back. Choo-choo plane battle. Wait, what?
So my personal phrase is to call it a choo-choo plane. And then they have the big plane, the big carriers,
Yeah.
scene where it's like they crash on each other and they're
Yeah, just
fighting.
throwing debris on
Yeah.
civilization.
So I call it
Got
the choo-choo plane battle.
Okay. All right.
Fair enough.
We landed on a dam and now we battle. Convenient. All the robots get no jobs. What?
Because they drag their faces on the thing and they get nose jobs.
Okay. The humans live. What the fuck? Or WTF. Gotta change the dark fate now. Ooh.
No. Oh, because it's called Dark Fate because the Dark Fate is Grace dies at the end. That's a Dark Fate, but they're going to try and change their Dark Fate. It's the whole meaning of the movie.
So here's my quick review and Arjuna's review of the movie. 2 thumbs down.
Oh, no.
Go, Diego, go to heaven was pretty good.
That was That was That was
The character's name was Diego. Diego is the infamous spin-off of Dora the Explorer.
Why do you know that?
Everybody who is in their 20s knows what Dora the Explorer is.
No, not about I know who Dora the Explorer is. I didn't know there was a spin-off.
Everyone knows there was. Diego.
Christian, do you know there's a
No.
spin-off?
You guys are in your 30s. I said 20s.
Yeah, that's fair.
Go to hell. Go to hell. Go to hell. Go to hell. Arjuna, as always, you made a interesting recap.
I made a
call
great
it that.
recap.
For those listening, we will be having a meeting later to discuss other alternative people to writing the recaps.
I think these recaps are gold. I think it's the best part of the podcast.
Christian, you should do the next recap. Let's get into our favorite parts. Dad, you obviously were pro this movie. I guess that's a way of saying that. So did you have any parts of the movie that you actually liked that you were like, wow, this speaks to me in terms of like it reminds me of the classic Terminator 2 or Terminator 1?
Yes, it's like in Terminator 2, Arnold Schwarzenegger came back as a good guy, and he was beating up the bad guys, and her name was Grace, right?
Yeah, the main
She
guy.
was still beating up the bad guy.
Right.
And I still that part, I think they stuck with the Terminator 2 sequence. But rather than that, like I said, like there were some parts I think was not like a bit boring. I would say.
Yeah.
But
for you, it seems like Grace was probably the best part.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, that was the best part. I
Yeah.
think she played the part pretty good.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she kicked some butts, as you would say.
Yeah. I thought that was it was an interesting choice to make her like not a full Terminator.
Right.
Have her be a human who chooses to get augmented.
Right.
Which is probably a reality that we're moving closer and closer to like every day, right?
Yeah.
Robot eyes, robot hearts. Next step, robot brains. Oh, now you're a robot. Pretty much. So
You're a robot.
Yeah.
You're a robot.
Everyone's
Everyone's
a
a
robot.
robot.
yeah, but I agree. She was I thought she did a good job as well.
Is that your favorite part?
No.
Or what's your favorite part?
So
then?
my favorite part actually, I thought the whole beginning was actually great. The first 20 minutes or so I thought was really good, and specifically the part in the beginning that I thought that I was like, Terminator's back. This is what Terminator is. Was actually in the factory scene after all the human stuff when both robots, so Grace and the
She's human. She's not a robot.
well, okay, the cyborg and the
She says
robot
at least 3 times.
are walking through the factory, like looking for that. To me, that was like, oh my god, this is like
Terminator 2.
they nailed it. I'm like, Terminator's back. This is what's gonna be all
Terminator
about.
2 and Terminator 1.
Yeah, absolutely.
To a certain extent.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like these killing machines from the
back,
future,
yeah.
and they're carrying out their mission, and they're both like, this like inhuman intensity, and you could feel. I felt inside myself the tension building. I was like, that whole scene was great. The fight scene right there was perfect. And then right after that, that's when the movie kind of fell off the rails. But for 20 minutes, I was all in. I was like, yes, we're back.
For 20,
And then-
Christian
and then
Christian
I
was a
wasn't.
believer for 20
He
minutes.
was a believer.
Now that's a pretty good. That's a pretty good segment of a movie. 20 out of 90 minutes is pretty
Movie's
good.
No, that was like
2
2-hour
hours.
movie.
Yeah.
Well, okay, even less impressive. I will also say I'm not allowed to have a second favorite part, but close second was actually the main bad guy Terminator. I thought from the trailers he was gonna be shit. No, I'm serious. I was like, this guy
The
looks
Rev
so,
9 model?
Yeah, he looks
played
so-
by Gabriel Luna.
Yeah, I was like,
The
he
Ghost
looks
Rider.
Yep. the Ghost
so
Rider.
bland and boring, but
But that's what you
seeing-
want for a Terminator.
No, but seeing in the movie though, he had like he came close. Nothing will ever be as good as the liquid metal Terminator from Terminator 2. I forget the actor who plays that guy.
Robert
but
Patrick.
that guy. No one's ever going to be as good in terms of straight up bad guy.
That guy learned how to shoot a gun without blinking.
Exactly.
That's how dedicated he was to his
And
craft.
that was so
Robert
creepy.
Patrick. Yeah. He learned how to. He's like, well, a robot wouldn't blink if they shot a gun.
Yep.
So he actually trained for months on shooting a gun and not blinking. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, because when you
It's so loud and everything.
Yeah, you're
yeah.
naturally
Blink.
going to jump
Yeah.
back.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is
But
crazy.
but this guy to me, Gabriel Luna, you could tell that he probably watched a couple hours of this guy because he emulated some of that.
Yeah.
That intensity.
He, I think he trained with Schwarzenegger as well.
yeah.
Like he really, because obviously Schwarzenegger's on set, so they
Yeah.
connected, and like he also got a lot of advice from him too.
Yeah, and Schwarzenegger's that like big tough killing machine. So when you're gonna play like this slender guy, you got to bring something else to it. You can't just use your physicality to impose that lethality. If that's the right word. You got to bring that. You got to bring something else. And I thought this guy.
Yeah, he
actually
nailed it for sure.
Absolutely.
Yes, he did.
Juna, what's your favorite part?
Actually, I'm going to go with the very beginning of the movie, the decision to kill John Connor at the very beginning of the movie. When I saw that, I was like, wow, this movie's bold. Like, it's going to, like, every Terminator movie is bold, or at least the good ones, right? Terminator 1 is, about this killing machine that goes back in times to kill a woman. A man is sent back. The man ultimately dies, and the woman saves herself, right? Sarah Connor saves herself. Bold for the 1980s. Then 1991, Terminator 2 comes around. Sarah Connor is now like a certified badass. She's become like this buff warrior type woman, bold, right? Especially for the early 90s. So I thought with this, like, oh, this is bold. Like, you've been told, John Connor's the savior of humanity and everything, and he's dead in the first few minutes. Like, I thought, like, okay, we're telling like a different story here. This could be really cool with what they did. And so the very initial action I really, really liked. But I'll get to the rest of it a little bit later.
Nice. All right, Ravi.
Can I have like 3 favorite parts?
If you can find a way to see a thread through all of them, then yeah. If not, just tell us them.
I don't know
we'll
how
figure it
to
out.
do it without kind of like sounding like a jerk.
Well, how about say your favorite parts and then
I mean, it's
decide
pretty,
which one's your
so.
favorite.
So my favorite parts would be definitely the beginning,
The Connor scene?
the Connor scene.
Sure.
That was really cool. Well, actually, yeah. So that was really cool. The second part would be when Grace and Sarah Connor are yelling at each other and basically having the pissing contest to see who's more badass.
Right.
I thought that was really cool and interesting because you typically see that like from a male perspective, and instead we're seeing it from 2 females, and it didn't feel forced or kind of like
Yeah, and
we're Hollywood.
I will say one of the things the movie did well was, Hollywood is all about like, oh, here's like minorities and stuff, and then they really ham it and they take away the authenticity of it. This was a female-led movie, right? The 3 main characters were all women. Didn't feel ever that it was forced of like, these are women.
Yeah,
I
like
thought
the
they did a
female
pretty good job.
Ghostbusters.
Right. By the way, it helps though. It helps that Sarah Connor is such a well-written character.
Yes.
Yeah, she really is.
That's and we'll get to it in a little bit. But her badassness is authentic.
Yes.
It's not forced because we see a progression. She doesn't start out that way.
Nope.
Well, but for a point I'm making about the opening scene to say that John Connor got killed.
Yes.
For my impression was that she was having a dream.
Oh, interesting.
It did seem very
It
dreamlike.
seemed like it was a dream. Like this was.
But that was actually the CGI.
right. I understand that was a CGI, but what I'm saying is it felt like she was having a dream because. Why is Sarah Connor back in this movie? Because that was my thing. Because like to me,
Right.
She had died.
she passed away. And like I
Right.
said, that's where the confusion comes in.
Yeah.
Which timeline are we talking about here? So.
Right.
And then obviously my other favorite part is going to be the Rev 9 model.
Yeah.
I thought that was great. Call out. It was definitely a throwback to like Terminator 2 and maintaining this idea of if you're going to have a Terminator, yeah, they're scary, scary things because they have no real emotions. They're robots, right? And Terminator 1, 2, and obviously then this new one do it really, really well. Terminator 3 had the female Terminator.
Oh, yeah.
The TX.
The TX model, which
She's just kind of forgettable.
it's forgettable.
I mean, that whole movie's forgettable, to be honest.
I mean, I don't remember.
And I don't know if it's because I feel like with that Terminator, they kind of overly sexualized her a little bit.
Yes.
In terms of, and for the age and the time period when that movie came out, that is what they were doing, unfortunately, and that obviously took away from it. I can't remember who the villain in Salvation was, like in terms of the Terminator model, or was it just actual Terminators?
It's just actual Terminator. There was like an AI queen type of thing.
Oh, it was a bee.
It was like a Borg type of thing.
See, I don't remember that. And then
Don't worry.
Genesis and Genocide. I just remember Matt Smith's character and then that other guy.
Matt Smith?
Matt Smith is in.
Justice is a disaster.
It's a
I haven't seen it.
terrible movie.
I haven't seen it.
Amelia Clarke is in it, right?
Dad, you know how Dad said like he's confused by this movie? So
Genesis.
that movie's even more confusing.
Yeah, that makes sense. Isn't John Connor a Terminator?
Yeah,
John Connor's a Terminator. Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator goes all the way back in time when Sarah Connor's a kid.
Oh.
It's all very confusing.
Why?
They were supposed to explain it in the 2 sequels that never happened.
Oh, my God.
What the hell?
Actually, so fun fact: every sequel since Terminator 2, every single director and creator and studio is like, yeah, we envision this as the first of a new trilogy of Terminator movies. They said that after 3,
Yeah.
after Salvation, after Genesis, and after Dark Fate.
Oh, my God. That hence leads to all the confusion because we're like, what is going on? But
it's
fair enough.
Yeah.
So, least favorite parts then.
Can I go first?
I will go first.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow. We have people jumping at the bit.
So, real quick, it's my usual.
The CGI.
The CGI was dog shit.
Except the first 5 minutes.
Except the first 5 minutes, which is like
They
they
blew the
nailed
budget.
it.
They blew the budget.
nailed it. It was great. It didn't look like Grand Moff Tarkin or Leia in terms of like making people look younger. It looked really, really good. Color scheme was really good. Like it felt like it was pulled directly
From the 90s.
out of the 1992 movie. It was wonderful.
I'm pretty sure
then it went to straight to hell.
Yeah.
Straight to freaking hell.
I'm pretty sure when I saw Arnold Schwarzenegger, young John Connor and Sarah Connor, I was like, holy shit, like how did they do this? I was like, at first, I was like, is this like deleted footage or, found footage from Terminator 2? I was like so confused. I'm like, oh wait, no, it's definitely CGI, but it was like the best CGI I've ever seen.
You know what's going to happen, right? They're going to wait 10 years for the technology of that to get even better and then just make a true Terminator sequel with all like young Schwarzenegger, young Sarah Connor,
They might as well.
young John Connor.
Good Lord.
You want to know what really happened? Here's the day-to-day movie.
Terminator 7/3.
Oh, man.
Forget the other sequels again.
Yeah. Go ahead, Juno. What was your least
So
favorite part?
my favorite part was killing John Connor, the scene. My least favorite part was the implementation of killing John Connor, because they killed him, and then I felt like they didn't do enough with that death. It felt like it was just a way. It didn't feel like it connected with the rest of the movie. Like it just didn't have the impact that I wanted. I guess.
You don't think Sarah Connor... So I would disagree a little bit just because it seems like Sarah Connor... Sarah Connor Sarah Connor from Boston Kid. That's a huge part of like how she talks, how she acts, why she's such a how she treats Arnold Schwarzenegger's character throughout this movie. Like, everything that drives her, I think, is stemmed from that death.
Kind of, but I feel like they're just. It feels like they killed John.
Yeah.
And it was shock, and to me, I still saw I didn't see enough of progression from Sarah in Terminator 2 to this. Like, I felt there should have been more to the character, and they just kind of made her
a bitter old woman.
Yeah, like it didn't feel like it impacted her enough. Like there were a few lines, sure, but I felt like they wasted this opportunity, like of this big event of killing John Connor, and it didn't impact the character enough. And then like with the Terminator, like my biggest part is like the issue with the Terminator. Like I thought Schwarzenegger was actually one of the worst parts of the movie.
Yeah.
Because I just felt like the humanization of this, like, oh yeah, this Terminator grew up, he grew a conscience, and
a very Toy Story.
He became
The human equivalent is what he said.
he became Carl, and he sold drapery. Like what? Why? Like the robot would blow up.
Yeah.
Or something. Like, you don't think they never thought about what to do with these robots once they were done with their mission?
They probably didn't care, right? Because they're stuck in that time. It doesn't affect.
Even
though you think it would. Actually, that does seem like it. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, that's a gross oversight by Skynet.
Yes.
Because clearly, actions in the past have consequences on the future.
Yep.
And the fact that Arnold Schwarzenegger or the Terminator is able to develop a conscience leads to the idea that those actions would have consequences that could actually impact Skynet down the road.
Well, it impacted Legion, right? So the coordinates that were on Grace's stomach were the ones to Schwarzenegger's house.
Yeah.
Which means he did influence the future because he became an ally for humanity.
Well, isn't it kind of hinted at that what's the main girl's name?
Grace or Danny?
Danny. Wasn't it like I was under the assumption that Danny, cuz Grace said that my commanding officer put those coordinates on, which would have been Danny.
Yeah, but what we're talking about though is Skynet sends a Terminator back to the past to kill John Connor, leader of the Resistance.
Right, they did that multiple times though.
The fact is, they didn't put in like a kill switch into a Terminator once your mission is done to self-destruct. Right. Because the Terminator was then able to have a conscience and directly lead to the downfall of a future like AI-controlled
robots.
That's a huge oversight by an all-powerful AI. Right?
That doesn't exist.
But the thing is, I mean,
that doesn't exist anymore.
How does a machine grow a conscience?
Exactly.
Yeah.
How?
And that's
my issue. Like it's like, and then they're just like, he's just like, for John. Well,
he learned that he took everything away from her.
Well, but that doesn't make any sense.
And then this is storytelling 101. Like, it's show, don't tell. And they tell us about his evolution.
Yeah.
But you don't see it. He's just like, I think this is Schwarzenegger being like, guys, I'm just tired of playing a robot. I hated Genesis just like everyone else, but I got to be funny. So let's do that again. I want to be funny again.
He's like, how like Thor in the first two movies are really bad?
Yeah.
And they're like, you know what? If we make it comedy, it's amazing. So exactly what they did with Schwarzenegger.
Oh, boy.
So I'm going to piggyback off of that because Schwarzenegger was actually both one of my favorite parts, but it was easily, though, the worst part of the movie.
It didn't fit.
So if you take the Schwarzenegger part and you make that a YouTube video, like a promo, I'm watching that 8 million times by myself, right? Because I'm like, this is incredible. I'm so excited.
They should have made like fake ads for Carl's drapery.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
That would have been great.
Oh, my God. Like, I think we were sitting next to O'Connor, right, in the movie theater. When after he gets shot, after Sarah Connor shoots him twice, like, how am I going to explain this to, what's her, I don't know, Elizabeth, yeah. And then he's like, oh, she's home. So, and he goes like, hi, honey. Like, what the? O'Connor lost it at that point.
Everyone in the theater was dying at that point.
It was so funny, but good Lord, it was just like, this is everything Terminator is not. There's none of this in Terminator 1 or 2. And I know series and trilogy should evolve and you shouldn't stay the same and you should have evolved your material, but it was so different and so outside the scope of the first two Terminators. I forget about the rest of them. They don't count. The first two Terminators, it's just such a different tone that doesn't exist at all in those
Yeah.
first two movies. They're dark, gritty. There's a little bit of humor,
Yeah.
but that humor is derived from a few interactions between John Connor
Sure.
and Arnold Schwarzenegger.
From a writing aspect, it feels like that part of the script was written by somebody completely different.
Like you had two different directors.
Yeah,
or
I mean,
something
well,
going?
I mean, with a lot of these blockbusters, you have like teams of writers
Yep.
that write the script. So it feels like that portion of when Schwarzenegger comes in was a rewrite, or somebody came in, changed it, worked with Schwarzenegger, whatever. Like the tone of the tone of the movie changes completely. It's just
Yeah.
like, okay, now it's gonna be like a comedy for 30 minutes.
Oh my god, which was great, but not in.
And like
this
even
movie.
the part where they're waiting for the military contact, and he's like, and I knew. He's like, those drapes were not good for these people. Like, why? Like this doesn't work.
Delivered in the
He was
same-
funny
yeah.
in Terminator 2. The irony, right? Because he's a robot trying to like blend in.
Yeah,
Like this was just.
this was
Didn't work.
terrible.
Yeah, but for you, least favorite part.
Yeah, my least favorite part was towards the end when what's her name, Danny, or Grace was telling Danny why she was there, because the whole movie we don't know why
Yeah.
she's protecting Danny,
Right.
and then all of a sudden she
Spills her guts.
spills it out.
Yeah.
Well, obviously not long after she died. Oops.
No,
it's fine.
we spoil everything.
Yeah, it's over it.
Yeah, that was the part that said, okay, as far as I'm concerned, the Terminator movies was the killing of Sarah Connor or
John
Connor.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden now this Terminator came back to protect someone totally different.
Right.
And why are you now all of a sudden saying this now? It's okay, you send me back to protect her, but what does she has anything to do with John Connor, who was supposed to be the?
Well, I think the idea, what they tried to do with this movie, especially with killing John Connor, was it doesn't have to necessarily be the specific family, and then also the idea of like they do defeat Skynet. So this movie takes the place like Terminator 3. The whole idea was you can never defeat Skynet. Like you're always like Skynet will always rise. You will always the end of the world will always happen. This continues that idea, but says, well, it's not always going to be called Skynet. It's not always going to be called John Connor, right? So replace the names, essentially. Skynet is now Legion. John Connor is now Danny.
It's also
right?
now 20 years ahead of schedule or
Later.
later.
Because Judgment Day was July something, 1995,
93 or
whatever the day
95,
was,
something
right?
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
And like Sarah proudly continues to saying like, we stopped that, we did that, right?
Save
Like,
3 billion people.
Yeah, save 3 billion, even though it's 7 billion people.
Well, there was one comment I was going to make, going back of when you were talking about Arnold Schwarzenegger growing this conscience,
Yeah.
and you were saying that would not have an impact on the future
Right.
Skynet. Going back in Terminator 2, they were able to create Skynet because of the previous Terminator when they had
Right.
Arm.
the
Yeah.
arm or
The arm and the
something.
chip.
Yeah, the chip to create Skynet, and that's so you're saying it's that that's the flaw in sending these Terminator back, that they have no self-destruct or
Yeah.
this.
Oh, you're saying. Oh, I get what so you're saying that by the Terminators just being around,
Right.
the Skynet always has a way in which it can be created because
Created.
the technology's there.
there, yes,
And
because
some idiot human will take it and recreate it.
that's human. They will experiment on every single thing that they can get their hands
That's
on.
interesting.
The issue...
I actually like that a
The
lot.
issue with the Terminator franchise is they don't have a set specific rules of time travel. They just make them up
They
differently
change them,
for
yeah.
each movie. It's like sometimes it does affect and sometimes it doesn't.
Based on what we're seeing, though, with all these reboots and everything, you could easily just throw in the multiverse theory.
Sure.
And I feel
God.
like that would be okay. So you'd have the various timelines or the various universes.
So that's what James Cameron said. He says think of Dark Fate this way. It's a direct sequel to Terminator 2, and the other movies are alternate timelines.
Yeah.
So think of Terminator 1 and 2 as one timeline.
The main
right?
timeline.
That's the main timeline. And then you have 3 on 1, you have Salvation on 1, Genesis on 1, Dark Fate on 1, Sarah Connor Chronicles on 1. Like, they all diverge into multiple timelines.
But what's the
after
crazy thing, though, is they all influence each other.
Correct.
which is where I think it gets
And
kind
that's
of...
what gets confusing. And
no,
I think that's what gets confusing
Well, it's
for
not
audience members.
just confusing. It's also kind of annoying because you have to go in knowing all these various
Right.
like things or whatever.
What happened in each timeline. So,
Right.
yep.
Even though it's not supposed to influence,
Right.
but it does.
You know who's doing that more recently? And it's. I was thinking about this the other day because I read a rumor about Picard. Actually, is the Star Trek fiasco? Is they've created multiple timelines based on like the J.J. Abrams stuff, and then the series.
Well, they have the original timeline and what they call the Kelvin timeline
and there may be another one coming
for Picard and Discovery.
because of Picard and Discovery. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Interesting.
So get ready to rip your eyeballs out and say, "Screw this!"
Yeah.
It's not suddenly, in order to enjoy a television show or a movie franchise, you need a PhD or basic understanding of physics and the multiverse.
You know what's
theory.
hilarious? This is what studio execs worried about in like the 90s and the early 2000s.
With the comic books.
With comic books
Yeah.
and continuity. They're like, our audience is mature enough and,
smart enough or want to
smart
research
enough or
enough.
want to research enough to be able
It's
to
that last
follow
one,
all these
yeah.
timelines,
It's
right?
nothing to do with maturity or it's like do you even have the time?
Yeah.
If you have a full-time job, a family, and I'm sorry, you don't. You just don't
And
have the time.
do the studios have the time in the movie or
Yeah.
elsewhere to explain how
Right.
it works?
Right.
Which is why it was just like, think about like Spider-Man. Oh, it's just easier to reboot it because
Yeah.
that's easier to explain than like, well, Spider-Man went back in time and he changed his face to a British guy.
But is the thought process because Star Wars did something similar, not in terms of creating massive amounts of timelines and this, that,
Yeah,
whatever,
it's one
but they
timeline.
there's one time, but they created a lot of extended stories,
Yeah.
and they realized early on that a lot of people would consume all of this content across various mediums.
It's also easier in Star Wars, though, because when you're dealing with movies that take place in the quote-unquote real-world timeline, movie taking place in the 80s and movies taking place in the 90s, the 2000s, 2010s, you're limited. Star Wars, because it's an outer space opera, you can make movies, it doesn't matter when you make them, because the technology is relatively similar over a 40-year span.
Right.
Right? You have a lot more freedom to come in there and you can have one timeline. You don't have to worry about movies taking place in the 90s, the 80s, the 70s, whatever.
So do we think? So Arjuna brought up an interesting thing. I think yesterday we were talking about this, or maybe it was you talking about this, about the rights for the movie going back to the writer at the end of this year.
Yeah, actually, so friend of the podcast, Jordyin Schwab, sent an article saying that the rights to the movie, I'm trying to find it right now, don't seem to be able to, but they go back to one of the writers of the original, and that's going to create issues with Skydance, the studio. Sequels would be problematic anyway, it seems like. And I think it goes back to the writer in 2020.
Gotcha.
Something like that. Yeah.
So next year.
Yeah, next year.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. The article basically, it's by Cinema Blend. It says, well, the original Terminator writer could stop future sequels after Dark Fate because I believe he gets the rights back.
Well, and this is interesting because this actually has three major production companies. So it's Skydance, as you mentioned.
Yep.
Paramount is the other one, and then 20th Century Fox is the third, which is a Disney property, as we know.
Oh, my God.
So, in conclusion, this is the end of Terminator.
I really hope so.
Is that the big theory that we have? Do we actually believe this is the end of Terminator?
I think that this is the end of Terminator. I think if James Cameron, because let's be honest, he's probably never going to direct a Terminator movie anyway because he's going to do Avatar till he dies.
Get on that hill and die.
But I think that I think this was their last chance. Like, this movie is underperforming severely. Schwarzenegger's 72 years old. Like, I think he's talked about that he probably, he's very limited in what he can really do in another Terminator movie. Like, the last 3 Terminator movies, he's been this kind of wisecracking aged Terminator. And
He's comic relief.
Yeah, they've done that twice, and it hasn't really worked that well, you know? So I don't really know what else you can do. Like, Linda Hamilton, I think, did a great job coming back as Sarah Connor, but she's not exactly a young person either, and she had been retired from acting for about 5 years. She had to be convinced to come out of this movie, and she said she's also likely not to do another sequel.
Right. Some franchises need to die when their actors are done. Like,
Yes.
You don't need to reboot every franchise, and like now if Schwarzenegger is done, the Terminator is Schwarzenegger, right? Can you imagine rebooting Terminator without Schwarzenegger, it would never work. It'd be like rebooting. It'd be like redoing
Star Wars.
Well, you can't. Or redoing Star Wars without Harrison Ford, yeah. Or Mark Hamill or Carrie Fisher, absolutely. Or Rocky and Sylvester Stallone. Can you imagine them redoing Rocky with a different actor?
No, but
Creed.
Well, I mean, that's at least
I know,
continuing,
I know.
you know. It's
But
not-
They made a compelling character.
But the thing is, I mean, like you said, doing Terminator without Arnold Schwarzenegger. Look what happened to the tree. The tree. Okay, he was in the
Yeah.
third one, but
He wasn't in Salvation
yeah.
because he was the governor at the time,
right.
and that one bombed.
And
Like
then-
they thought Christian Bale could,
Lead the series.
and then he went crazy.
Yeah, and then yeah, that's right. Then Genesis.
Yeah,
Not-
Jack.
Genesis, he's in. You know, Schwarzenegger's in that one.
Was he?
Yeah, they call him Pops. So his Terminator goes all the way back and saves young Sarah Connor, played by Emilia Clarke. And so he's like and because he's been alive for so long, he's aged. So they explained it that way, and he's like in this one, he started to develop a conscience and
yes.
can mimic human emotions.
Yes, I did remember that when he said, "I've been waiting for you."
Right.
Right, but don't they like remove Sarah Connor and bring her to the present
Yep.
at some point in that movie?
Yep. Emilia Clarke and Kyle. So Kyle Reese is also played by Jai Courtney,
Yeah.
the guy who played Bruce Willis's son in Die Hard and is also Captain Boomerang in Suicide Squad. He plays Kyle Reese, and then Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor, instead of like staying back in time and Reese being killed by the T-800 in 1984, they go forward with Pops to the present day, where John Connor also transports as Terminator John Connor, and they kill him, and then they're there to stop Judgment Day, as they also watch over young John Connor, which doesn't make any sense because they went for that movie is riddled with
confusion.
with
Yes.
confusion. But
That's a movie that just does not care about time travel.
I feel like with this, like as good as like Mackenzie Davis and Natalie Reyes, whereas like Grace and Danny, I don't think they're necessarily memorable. Like they're also burdened by they've come in on the 6th movie. You know what I mean? So you know, versus Schwarzenegger and Linda Hamilton and other characters, they don't have they haven't had time to develop their characters into these cult heroes for this franchise. So I just don't like. I don't know how you do. I don't know how this continues.
But they can still continue with those two. I mean,
I think.
because
I don't know if it's strong enough.
Remember that this was.
There you go.
Remember this was this movie was based off Grace and
Yeah, it was
Danny, and
Right.
so I still think that somehow they can bring those characters back.
Do you want to see a movie with those two though? Just those two?
like no Linda Hamilton, no Schwarzenegger.
I mean, I don't know. I can really.
It
say.
seems a less compelling movie though, right?
Yes.
Doesn't seem like it'd be as good, or at least your interest isn't as high.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's the issue.
Yeah.
Here's a question I have. Right, if Legion is supposed to be different from Skynet, why do they look the same? Like the exoskeletons.
Why even ask that question? That's the better question. Like, also, why they're not called Terminators? They're called Revs.
But the Grace specifically calls them Terminator.
Does she call them a Terminator?
Yeah,
I
I think
pick up on
I
it.
think the Rev 9 is like model.
Which is
serial
hilarious.
number.
And then she's like, she's like, we defeated Skynet, and Grace is like, what's Skynet?
Oh yeah, I'm like, oh my god, showing your age there, young buck.
So we got some rants in here. We did the No More Terminator sequels.
Yep.
Yep. So Arnold can't do it anymore. Whose was that?
I put that down, and I think I've kind of alluded to this throughout. But I just feel like he is 72 years old. You know, the first one, he's an unstoppable killing machine. Also, he's also told this great story about how O.J. Simpson was their original choice for the Terminator, but they said he didn't look enough like a killer to do it.
Wow. Is this real?
Yes, this is real.
incredible.
Schwarzenegger continues to tell this story at every junket. Anyone who listens, he's like, and they're going to deny it. They're like, we briefly considered. He's like, no, OJ was the first choice, and they said he looked too much like a nice guy to be Terminator.
This is Terminator 1.
Terminator 1.
Holy
There's an alternate timeline where OJ Simpson is a Terminator.
Actually, I was looking at our interview with Michael Bean?
Oh, who played Kyle Reese.
Kyle Reese.
Yeah.
In the first Terminator, he said that there was a few actors who turned down that role before he was offered that role because
Well,
nobody knew who Arnold Schwarzenegger was.
right.
Right.
And this was the interview I saw was after Terminator 2 came out.
Right.
And because he said, and look at him now, he's commanding what $20+ million per
I
movie.
mean, he was the
Yeah.
biggest action star in the world at one point.
At one point, and nobody wanted to act with him because
Well, and here's the thing, right? So James Cameron discovered, because Schwarzenegger had done, I think, at
Conan
that
the
po-
Barbarian.
Conan, which is his big thing at that time.
right.
But then Cameron saw that, and it's like, I want this guy in the movie. But originally, Schwarzenegger was supposed to be Kyle Reese.
What?
Oh,
And
Really?
O.J. Simpson was going to be the Terminator.
Now
And
that would
then-
that would have been
worked.
entertaining.
And then
Hell.
and then like O.J.'s not going to work. And then Cameron's like, no, Schwarzenegger's got to be the Terminator. Like, this guy's huge killing machine.
Yeah, no shit, Cameron. God damn it. How do you mess that up?
And so obviously Schwarzenegger's incredible in the first Terminator, right? Like,
Yeah.
if Terminator 1 is a great horror movie.
It's a horror
if you really
movie,
think
yeah.
about it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It was just always surprising me around Halloween that Terminator 1 doesn't get brought up as like horror.
Because it's not a pure horror movie, right? It's more like a dark science fiction. Like it has some scary elements, but it's not like straight up like
I think it's horror.
not
It's like
straight
the whole
up.
idea is. And then obviously recreating him as in Terminator 2 as a hero was great, and like he could still do it. And then where he starts to fall off Terminator 3, that's right before he becomes governor. Like, Schwarzenegger's getting a little fat. That's little
It's
fat,
called
little
old
punchy,
age there, buddy.
getting old.
Oh my God.
And then by the time you got to Genesis, it was like, yeah, okay, I don't know if you could. And then this one, you're like, oh.
Okay, we took a Republican and stuck him in a movie. Oh boy.
So, I don't know.
I think that's gonna cover a lot for us. Do we have any fun facts? Anything else anyone wants to throw out there before I wrap this and terminate my bowels?
Dad said, did you have a hot take? No. You didn't have a hot take. Okay.
Nobody got that? That was okay. I'm just gonna leave that in there.
Yes, I heard that.
Oh my God.
Oh, if you can't make a poop joke, then what's the point of living?
Everybody poop.
That's
This got
true.
a 71% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Dude, okay. As the host of this podcast, no more Rotten Tomatoes
Why not?
because it's bullshit.
So
But
Bullshit.
I think it's a good barometer because a lot of people
Have you heard of Google movie reviews? I want that number in there
I
going
don't think
forward.
that's a real number.
It's a real thing.
Really?
even if
Yep.
it is,
It's not.
what makes that more?
Better than Rotten Tomatoes.
Well, those-
Nothing. I'm just giving a hot take here to piss
What?
you both off.
I'm not pissed
I'm not
off.
pissed
You're
off
Christian.
either.
Your arms are crossed. You're staring at me. You're pissed.
Okay, I have a hot take.
You have a hot take.
Yes.
Okay.
Is there something else?
God. Phones. Yes.
Yeah, my hot take was, I don't know if anyone noticed it, Arnold never said, I'll be back in this movie. Sarah Connor said it.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah,
and he
yeah.
said, I won't be back.
Yeah. Because he's dead.
Wait, do you
He's
think
done.
that's him saying to us, the audience, that this is the last time we have to see him
Yep.
as the
It
Terminator?
has to be. Probably, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
What did you think, Dad? I'm curious. They have the iconic scene where he's getting, puts on the leather jacket.
Oh, that's right.
Then he picks up the glasses. Remember? He looks at them. It looks like he's about to put them on. Then he
And he
puts
put it
them
back
down.
down, yep.
What did you think of that?
Actually, I thought he was going to put it on.
Yeah.
And to me, that would give you some kind of indication that, okay, I'm back. But like I said, he didn't say I'm back. I wouldn't be back. And then Sarah Connor said that. So you could think that about that she will be back
Right.
if they do decide to make a sequel to this.
Right.
So
And she is alive at the end of the movie.
Right.
She is one of the few characters. There's
The-
actually they've obviously been doing the junket interviews, and two things about those things. Schwarzenegger, in the original scene, they had him putting on the glasses. Schwarzenegger petitioned not to put on the glasses. He felt it was important to show the evolution of the character. He wanted to show that Carl was no longer, wasn't a Terminator, right? He had become more humanized. Go ahead.
Okay, couple of quick questions here. Terminators
Yep.
are just robots that
Correct.
they're infiltrators, right?
Yep.
Are we suggesting that this Terminator used the same or was in the same type of situation that would have caused his infiltration systems to be like, I need to wear sunglasses, just like the Terminator from Terminator 2? Because the Terminator from Terminator 2
Dead.
is not the same Terminator as this Terminator.
Right.
They're the same model,
Right.
but why would they have the same clothing and style? Right? Why couldn't this Terminator?
question.
Why couldn't this? Because especially since this Terminator, Carl, killed John down in was it Mexico?
Mexico, yeah.
Down in Mexico. Why wasn't this Terminator wearing? And I know this sounds super racist, but leave me alone. Why wasn't this Terminator wearing a sombrero and aviators? Like, why wasn't that its infiltration
Because
style?
he knows he's not a Mexican Terminator.
Right, but he's supposed to infiltrate, right? He's
Yeah,
supposed to
but
blend in.
He's gonna
some
stand out-
big white guy.
Yeah, he's gonna stand out way more if he's doing that.
I mean,
That's
why
obvious.
Why did they send an Austrian to America? I mean, let's really. So, Dad, you'd raise your hand though.
No, what I was going to say about this Terminator, like following up on Ravi's point, he came in dressed as this dude, but he didn't portray that he was a Terminator. He just came in with his glasses, but not dressed as the Terminator.
Sure, but right, because
and then going back to Terminator 2, he wore the sunglasses, but he was not a killing machine.
Right.
He was still the protector of
Right.
John Connor. Whereas so to me, when him picking up the glass and putting it on, that still wouldn't have classed him as a Terminator. You mean you could go hey or day, nay or day to say that okay,
right.
he's a Terminator or he's a good guy.
Right. Well, so fun fact about Terminator 2, the original promotion of the movie, it was a surprise to audiences when Schwarzenegger was the good guy. The trailers never portrayed him as the good guy.
Oh, you mean they actually made a good trailer?
They made a great trailer for Terminator 2. Like it was
those
never
days.
it was never revealed
Yeah, that's true.
that
Yeah.
it was it from the trailers it looked like it was both Schwarzenegger and Robert Patrick sent back to kill John
Thus,
Connor.
they call it Terminator 2
Two.
because it was two Terminators.
Yeah, then that
Which
was
is
the
true.
big twist. So the other thing they also said in the interviews was they really wanted to show the dichotomy between Sarah Connor and the Terminator, that the Terminator had become more human than Sarah Connor at this point. They wanted Sarah Connor almost to be robotic in terms of like her personality, because she had lost John. She just become this warrior that just killed. All she did was kill Terminators. That was her one purpose. While the Terminator had developed a family and had a drapery business.
Everything Sarah Connor wanted.
A drapery business. Sure.
Oh boy. Is it that time?
It's that time. Dad, you're the guest, so we're going to start with you. Was Terminator Dark Fate good?
I'll say yes.
Wow. Interesting.
And now you get to ask, you can't ask me, you can ask one of these two.
Christian, was Terminator Dark Fate good? Was it good?
I'm gonna have to say no. I'm gonna say no. It was highly entertaining. It was really entertaining, but I can't. To me, like, because it was even billed as a direct sequel to Terminator 2, so I'm forgetting about those other Terminator movies. I'm comparing it to those two. If I'm comparing it to those two and looking at those three movies as a trilogy by themselves, it's not good. If you compare now, if you're taking in the whole, if you're looking at the whole Terminator thing,
It's the third best Terminator movie.
it easily by far, but. As a movie, it's not. It's not.
Well,
good.
well, that's where I was looking at it. I mean, I will say yes, it's better than the
For
other
sure.
For sure.
two
For
that
sure.
came out. So
Yeah, which is totally fair.
Yeah.
Arjuna, was Terminator Dark Fate good?
No, it was not. And I think, like I said at the top, this is the death knell of Terminator. I think you need to put it away. And in my mind, it ends with Terminator 2. The end.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree.
Ravi, was Terminator Dark Fate good?
Yes.
Wow,
Oh,
split decision.
I actually enjoyed it. I thought
Yeah.
it was entertaining. It spoke a little bit to what we're used to in the first 20 minutes at the very least. It changed and tried to do something a little bit different. It incorporated kind of like more inclusion of other sexes and races. It touched upon the border, which we didn't really talk about, which I thought was hilarious. So it had everything that I could want in a movie. So good job.
He's like, everything he wants. Other races, women, border. Done. Okay, I'm set. That's all I need in my movies. All right, I'll remember that.
So you would watch a movie about... No, I'm not going to say it.
Hey boy. Would everyone watch it again?
Absolutely.
I will
Yes.
not watch this movie again.
Ever?
No.
Not when you're like, oh my goodness, it's a Saturday night, I got nothing
Nope.
to do. I'm going to watch all 6 Terminator
Yeah,
films.
if I want to torture myself, I'll watch Terminator 3, Salvation, Genesis, and Dark Fate. Which,
Oh.
by the way, what
okay.
kind of fucking subtitle? Sorry, Dad. What kind of names? Genesis, Dark Fate. What the?
Wait, what do you want?
It should have been called Terminator Legion, first of all, not Dark Fate.
No,
the
that's
Dark
stupid.
Fate. I think that was like this is the fate. Like I said, they're moving on,
Sure.
Yeah.
and so this could possibly
Like
be
the new Fate.
It just
Right.
seemed mystical. Like I expected Terminators with robes and magic to come out.
Wow.
Really?
No, I
Terminator-
didn't expect that, but that's what the title invokes in my mind.
No.
Dark
Well,
Fate.
that's a you problem.
That is definitely.
I'm the
a problem.
audience.
That's true.
Well, that's going to do it. Dad, thank you for joining us today on this
Anytime.
Was It Good
Thank you.
podcast. Is there a particular place people can find you on social? Twitter?
Yes, I'm on Twitter at the Ramgopal.
Yeah, check it out.
Yeah.
It's a lot of retweets.
A lot of
us.
retweets of us. I like the propaganda.
Marketing tools.
Yes.
Thank you again. Thank you everyone for listening. You can find us on Twitter at Was It Good or on Instagram at Was It Good BTM. We also post these as live streams on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. Definitely check us out there. Yeah, that's going to do it.
We should-
Podcasts can be found on Apple, Spotify, and wherever you find your podcasts.
And we should tease now in the next few weeks, we have The Mandalorian coming up. It's going to be our big weekly type of show where we review each episode. So be sure to check it out. We'll be live Friday, Saturdays-ish. Every
Pretty much
week.
Friday, Saturdays,
Yeah.
We will not have lives until the end of the year.
Wait, what?
We will not have lives until the end of the year.
He's talking about our personal lives,
Personal
not live
lives?
streams.
Oh, I was
Because I got
I'm like-
confused
I
as well. I
like,
was like,
wait a
live stream?
second.
We're not going live?
Anyway, thank you for listening, and stay Terminator-y. That didn't work.
Oh, no, you should have been like, I'll be back.
No.
Because we'll
Cut
be
it.
back for the next,
I'll be back.
next episode. Exactly.
All right, that's the recording done.
Oh.
Any
still-
questions?
No.
No question. Oh, no questions.
Okay, you can kill the live as well.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone. Keep
Goodbye.
calm and carry on.